Thank you, Alan, and I'd like to thank the organisers to the opportunity to have a speak to you on basically the spatial digital twins within Australia, touch upon a bit of New Zealand, but generally where we've come from and where we're going to. So, but first I'd like to thank the hosts and sponsors for the opportunity. It's a fantastic venue and I appreciate all the efforts that have gone into hosting us and bringing us together. It is a great opportunity for all of us to start to collaborate and talk about some of the significant issues that are facing ourselves. So thank you very much to our hosts and sponsors. So look, I'd just like to quickly go through the agenda. So it'll be around ANZLIC, which is the Australian New Zealand Land Information Council. They're formally now known as ANZLIC. They've got a strategic plan that you can see, but they had an update last week on how they're progressing through that. The slides will indicate, hopefully, some links to it for you to look through later on. Also, the Digital Twin White Paper from Standards Australia. This is basically a new initiative by Standards Australia, is starting to produce a number of white papers on key matters that are happening within the Australian standards community, and the white paper on digital twin is just one of them. They've done a quantum computing and metaverse also in recent times. I'll just also give you an update on the spatial digital twins within Australia. Some of these have been going for a number of years and matured through the process of organisations thinking, and we've, like all of us, have started to mature around what we want out of our Smart Cities digital twin and going forth. We've got also another initiative that has happened just recently. Last month there was the launch of this Resilience Intelligence Infrastructure Systems by a number of universities and governments and industry. And then I'll pose a question to you around smart cities, digital twins, the Internet of Things, AI, the metaverse. So that'll be a question for you of how do we start to transform and move towards this environment? And what do we as a community play in this area? So let's start off with the ANZLIC and so forth and where they've come from. So this is their priorities areas within ANZLIC's strategic plan. And it basically outlines 5 key areas that they're after. And it's a fairly common themes throughout not only Australia and New Zealand, but basically around the world. And you can see that part of that is the spatial data and standards and so forth. So our relationship within this ecosystem of the spatial community is an important facet for us as a community to bring together. Within the Australian-New Zealand concept is a number of key themes that we're after. And you can see a number of them, 14 of them, about what the areas of interest that we have to support not only the smart cities, but also the digital twins, the Internet of Things, and also the metaverse eventually. But it also gives organisations a framework up to dealing with some of this work that we're after. And it also focuses on organisations to start to understand their requirements for good data management. So it's not that dissimilar to the rest of what other organisations and countries have been doing. So you look at the transport and where does spatial information assist in the transport? The importance of positioning, and the UN GGIM environment has led quite a lot of this work about positioning. And some of the areas that we may not think about have in the past is traditionally looking at geology and soils, and how do we play in the spatial community to assisting in that. So the update was released, as I said, last week, and there's a link there for you when you get these slides. And the initiatives is modernising the foundation spatial data framework that we had those 14 themes. So they're prioritising those thinking. We developed those about 10 years ago, so it's a good now time to start to think about what's the next phase of our interaction with other communities and so forth. The metadata and tools, we're updating them to assisting our communities to better understand our engagement and so forth. Digital twins from the Australians' point of view is an important facet, and they're putting quite a bit of work in that. And also in recent times, the space and geospatial community is improving, and their engagement and so forth, and the Australian government has allocated a significant amount of money towards the space. But also the enablers, and I'm pleased to see so many younger people than I in the room around about the skills and capacities for the future and so forth. And it's really important that we bring together this new facet of new generation of people's engagement in this area. And they're about the collective engagement and support and diversity and inclusion. So the white paper, basically, that Standards Australia presented released in March of this year. It has a number of key drivers to grow the economies, transformation and innovation, improving wellbeing for our community, and support Australia's climate commitment. The challenges, of course, is about leadership and coordination, better decision making, and also trying to get some improve our leadership and governance around this, and maybe have a look at a national digital twin approach and a pilot program within Australia. Some of the key opportunities for it, they're pretty standard environments that we're looking at, but down the bottom there is the opportunity for trade and investment, and I suppose that's one of the key things that we need to start to consider around what impact is our industry doing for that type of trade and investment opportunities going forth. Some of the key benefits investing in the digital twin capability within Australia. More broadly, it's around reducing our carbon footprint. Australia is quite a large continent. We've got 25 million people in the country. I think Korea has got 51, 52 million, so you can, and most of our population live in the urban areas. So here's a graphic that says how is Australia going in terms of its jurisdictions and so forth. And you can see that there is a few jurisdictions like New South Wales that are a bit of green all the way down that are doing some good work. Victoria is not that far behind, and that's not surprising because Victoria and New South Wales are fairly wealthy states and so forth, so you can see why they're leading it. and other jurisdictions are starting to fall behind a bit. So this is just an indicator of where we're at and where the resources need to happen. So I just want to touch base with you on the digital twins programs within the states, and there are 3 major states that have been leading this. The top 3 are of New South Wales, Victoria and Queensland. They have been in development or have been initiated a number of years ago. So they're 6-7 years old in terms of their conceptual thinking, their data interaction and so forth. Where do we get all this information and so forth? So they're one of the original drivers. So the New South Wales Spatial Digital Twin, Fisherman's Bend in Melbourne and Queensland Globe have been a forefront of our further development. And those bottom 3, the Bathurst, Victoria and Brisbane, have been a continuation of some of the programs. Bathurst is in New South Wales, and it's the home of their New South Wales Spatial Mapping Agency. So they've used their hometown as a use case and so forth, and how it does. Victorian Digital Twin is also an extension of the Fisherman's Bend program that was developed by Melbourne University. And Brisbane Cross Rail is improving their infrastructure around of rail within Brisbane, and also assisting Brisbane's program for the Olympics in 2032. So the Resilience Intelligence Infrastructure Systems that was also just released last month has 5 themes, and it's going to deliver the transformation technologies to address Australia's critical infrastructure needs, and they're the themes. And basically these groups are from university and industry to assist the next phase of our development and thinking and knowledge base about how to improve these programs. The 5 themes within the spatial data infrastructure is the digital twins asset management and the simulations, the visualisation, and the managing of digital twins and establishing digital threads throughout the programs and so forth. So, the question I have for us as an audience and so forth is we're thinking about smart cities and then progressing to digital twins. The interactions with the IoT, artificial intelligence, what do they play in now the spatial community and how do we engage that? And then the metaverse, and what does the metaverse bring, or what do we bring to the metaverse as a community? Now, I've got to confess here, I've got no idea what the metaverse is all about. So those people who are engaged in the metaverse, please come and see me and teach me what the metaverse is about, because I've got no idea. But it's an important facet to understand how we're using the digital twins and the metaverse in this new environment that we have. But also I'd like to extend the question to us about the geopolitical side of our industry. How do we play in this geopolitical environment that we're doing? It's not just the technical side of it anymore, it is how do we engage in this geopolitical environment. And we see that quite evidently for those people, those who go to the UN's GGIM meetings in August in the UN. So I'd like to acknowledge the contributions, and I've used quite a few of those within the slide deck around the peoples that have assisted in doing this. And I'd like to finish up thanking everyone. I live in Canberra, which is the capital of Australia, which is about 200 miles south west of Sydney, and flew from Sydney up through over the coast to over the Great Barrier Reef, which I took this photo of part of the Great Barrier Reef, and maybe we could do a digital twin of the Great Barrier Reef also. So thank you very much, and I hope everyone enjoys the rest of the day's conference. Thank you.